Hi, Girl Scouts. It's great to see you, and welcome to Inspiring Futures with the Denver Dumb Friends League. I'm so excited that you're here, and we just did the Daisy Brownie Jr., and it was so much fun to listen to all the things that are happening at the Denver Dumb Friends League. So we'll get started. So I'm Katie Herstein, and I'm the Program and Events Manager at Girl Scouts of Colorado. And I get to be the lucky one that gets to host this virtual series where we introduce Girl Scouts to a whole bunch of accomplished women in a whole variety of professions. So you can begin to be inspired about what your own future might look like. So we have a great program partner that is College Invest. So College Invest is Colorado's college savings program. And what they do is they make it easier for you to save for education after high school. So they exist for one reason, and that's to help families put money away to save for your inspired future, or their inspired future, really. So I started a College Invest savings program when we moved here about 10 years ago. For my two daughters, and now my oldest is going off to college next fall, and glad that we have a college savings account to help pay for that college education. So it's kind of like a piggy bank that you can put money into it. Your caregivers, birthday money, grandparents, anything can put money into that account, and it grows tax-free. So when it comes time to take it out of the account to pay for college anywhere across the country, trade school, apprenticeship programs that give you real world experience, you can use those College Invest savings for those programs. So we're going to hear a quick message from College Invest CEO about what she hopes you'll get out of today's session and the series.
Hi, I'm Angela Beyer, CEO of College Invest, and welcome to this episode of Inspiring Futures. Through Girl Scouts, you've learned that if you can dream it, you can do it. And here at College Invest, Colorado's education savings program, we help you get there. And you're never too young to begin to imagine your inspired future. So how will you impact this world? Will you run your own business, invent a new technology, or maybe even discover a life-saving cure? But wherever your inspiration takes you, a College Invest savings plan can help make your dreams a reality. Now, prepare to be inspired.
Great. Next up, just a couple of housekeeping items. So we are recording, and I will be putting this video, the recording video, up onto YouTube. So I already know there are a few Girl Scouts that couldn't make it tonight because of scheduling conflicts. So, but when I do put the recording up, I'll make sure that anybody's faces that are being shown are covered up so it's not out there into a public space on YouTube. So please feel free to turn your videos on, interact with us, and ask questions. Use the chat as much as you want. We would love to hear you and talk to you as much as we can. So next up is our Girl Scout Promise and Law. So if anybody wants to unmute and join me, please feel free. So on my honor, I will try to serve God and my country and help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law and the Girl Scout law. I will be honest and fair, friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and others, respect authority, use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. So I'm just going to admit one more person in here. But what we're all here for is to learn about animal welfare from the Denver Dumb Friends League. And I've got Lauren here on the call, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I can highlight Lauren so everybody can see her. There we go. Hi, Lauren.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. How are you all doing today? I hope that you're all doing really well. I'm excited to be joining you for this program this evening. And I hope, just like Katie said, I hope that this is inspirational for all of you, and that maybe it helps you get a better idea of what you might want to do in the future. And as you continue to grow up and see more things that you want to be doing, really hope that you have some great questions and things as we go along. Feel free to type them into the chat. Or if Katie needs to kind of help me out with making sure I stay on top of getting those, I will do my very best to make sure that I get things answered.
Yeah,
So just to Cool, thanks. So just to start things off, in case you're not super familiar with the Dumb Friends League, we are an animal shelter here in Colorado. We are a shelter that has been around since the year 1910. And that kind of explains our strange name, because people question our name fairly regularly and wonder why we have the word dumb sitting in our name. So when we started in the year 1910, the word dumb was simply a reference to someone who cannot speak. And so the idea behind our name is that we're considering the animals our dumb friends, because they are our friends who do not have a voice of their own and cannot speak up for themselves. And we're the league, or the group of people that's here to be their voice, to speak up for them, to advocate for them, and to do everything we can to care for them and give them a good chance at a better future. We are a type of animal shelter called an open admission animal shelter. What that means is that we can take in any species of animal that comes through our doors. The only thing we won't take are people, but everything else can show up. Now, you might be thinking, well, Ms. Lauren, that sounds absolutely crazy. There's no way you'd take something like an alligator. We actually would. If it came to our door, we would take it to make sure that it's safe, but we recognize that we do not have all of the things an alligator needs to be cared for correctly. So what we would do is contact the Denver Zoo or any of the other area zoos and larger wildlife sanctuaries and places that actually can take care of an animal like that. And we would pass it along to them. We focus our care on 4 types of animals. They're all pets or companions. Those are dogs, cats, small mammals like hamsters, gerbils, guinea pigs, rats, mice, bunnies, ferrets, hedgehogs, chinchillas, those little guys. And the 4th type are equines, or horses, ponies, mules, and donkeys. Now, we have 4 different facilities that all of these animals live at while they're with us. The equines have obviously very different needs than the other dogs, cats, and small mammals. So they get to stay at a place called the Harmony Equine Center. It's located in Franktown, Colorado, and it's a 168-acre ranch. So the animals that are there have everything they need and great staff and volunteers that help make sure that they are getting the best care possible. The dogs, the cats, and the small mammals get to stay with us at our location in Denver, which is our headquarters. We also have a location down in Castle Rock, and as of last year, we opened up another location all the way down in Alamosa. So we're really trying to help as many communities as possible, and we're growing as that growth is available to us. We also want to make sure that we are focusing on the quality of the care that we're giving to the animals. So we definitely want to make sure that we're doing everything we can within the power that we have to do it. So all of those locations are home to upwards of 20,000 animals every year. So we're getting in about 20,000 homeless animals every year. That breaks down to about 55 or 60 animals showing up every single day. And all of these animals come to us for one of 4 different reasons. The number one and most popular reason is what we call an owner surrender. So this is where somebody has a pet and for whatever reason, they can't keep that pet anymore. It could be a financial thing. It could be a moving thing and they can't bring the pet with them where they're moving to. It could be an allergy thing. The pet might not be getting along with other animals in the household or having other behavioral problems that the people simply can't deal with. Like we said, there's lots of different reasons that people have to make that choice. We understand that that's really tough for a lot of people. And so we want to be there as a resource for them. And when they bring their pet in, we want them to know that we're going to do our best to provide the best care possible for that animal and find it a new home that's going to be the right fit. So like I said, that's our most common way we get our animals. We also get animals if somebody brings them to us as a lost or stray animal. When we get those animals in, we check to see if they have a collar with tags and see if we can find their owner's information. We also check to see if they have a microchip underneath their skin. And if they have either of those, then that's really great. And we're able to contact the owners, let them know their animal is safe and at the shelter, and they can come and get that animal as quickly as they're able to do that. Now, if the animal doesn't have any type of identification on it, that makes it tough for us to know who they belong to. So what we do in those situations is we take a picture of the animal, put it up on our website, and keep our fingers crossed that the owner will be looking for it and make the effort to contact us to let us know that they saw their pet's picture on there and then come and get their pet. Now, we don't want animals sitting in the shelter for any longer than they have to be. So we don't just let the animals sit there for months at a time, waiting on an owner that's not going to show up for them. So after 5 days of being up on the website on the Lost and Found page, we have the right to put the animal up for adoption and it can go home to a new family and get the best life that it really deserves. That's our second most common way. Our third most common way is something we call a transfer. So we are not the only animal shelter around. There's plenty of other animal shelters in the Denver area, surrounding Colorado area, across the country, across the world. What is kind of cool is that we're one of the biggest animal shelters. And so we are able to help more animals than most other shelters. And so what happens with a transfer is if an animal shelter has run out of space and they still have more animals than they can find anywhere to put them, they can contact us and ask if we can take over the care of those animals. And then they'll drive them over to us, and we can take that on. It could be a space thing. It could be a medical thing, lots of different reasons. But we understand that in being so big, we have a lot more resources and a lot more ability than most other shelters. And so we want to be able to give back to the animal welfare world because we really do care about trying to help as many animals as possible. And sometimes that means us helping out the other shelters in order to help those animals. The last way that we get our animals, and this only accounts for about 1% to 2%, so don't get too sad when you hear about it, but we do have an animal cruelty investigator department. So sometimes people are not treating their pets the way that they should. That is still a problem in the world. And if anybody notices somebody mistreating their pet, they can contact our investigations department, and one of our investigators will look into the situation, go to the location that was reported, and figure out what's going on. If it's necessary, we can work with local law enforcement, and we have the right to seize or remove the animal from that location. Cases that might include that could be cases of abuse or neglect, could be abandonment, could be animal collecting, what a lot of people know of as hoarding, different things along those lines where the animals are simply not being treated the way that they should, and we want to get them out of that situation. When the animals come to stay with us, we make sure that they're getting all the care that they deserve. And in the meantime, the owner has to go to court and face a judge, and that judge is going to decide if they're allowed to have their pet back or not, if they're going to be punished, and then what that punishment is going to look like. So like I said, that only accounts for 1% to 2% of what comes to us every year, but it's still something that does happen. And so we still need to be there and to be able to address it. So that's kind of a brief overview of what the Dumb Friends League is. I wanted to share with you all and talk to you more about the different careers that you can look into and possibly be inspired to start making some choices in your education and volunteer work and different things that you want to do that might help you get to there. So give me just a moment while I get my screen shared, and then we'll dive right into that. Sorry, guys, I'm having just a momentary thing I need to get into. All right. Okay, can everybody see the careers in animal welfare page up on your screens?
We can see it.
Perfect. Okay. So when we talk about careers in animal welfare, a lot of people think about becoming a veterinarian or a zookeeper, or back when I was a teenager, the big thing was becoming a marine biologist for some reason. But we don't realize just how many different positions there are and how many different types of careers you can actually have in animal welfare. And then especially with that is things that connect to animal welfare in a way that a lot of people don't think about. So that's what I want to talk to you about for the next little bit. And then I'm going to leave plenty of time for us to answer questions because I'm sure you all have a bunch. So we talked about careers that come to mind. Hopefully there's more than just the zookeeper and the veterinarian that you guys are thinking about. But if you haven't, let's share a little bit about what careers are at the Dumb Friends League. So one of the careers that we have available is an adoptions associate. So this is a person who is going to talk to patrons that are coming through the doors looking to adopt an animal. And this person is basically going to be the person that talks about all the animals, helps the people make a decision, gets to know the people that are coming in so that we can make a good recommendation on the right pet for that family. In order to have a job like this, you do need to get yourself through high school or get the GED equivalent. Customer service is really important for this one. You've got people that are looking to add a really important member to their family. And so they definitely want to have a real positive experience with that. I always say that for this position, you need to be a people person. You need to be able to talk with people, enjoy being with people, get a good energy off of them in order to help them connect to you and then to the animal that they hope to be taking home. You also need to have just basic computer skills and some general animal welfare knowledge. So this is a position that you can get right out of high school. So if you're interested in that, it's a great stepping stone to help your career advance through the shelter system if you think it's something you'd like to do in the long term. An intake associate, this is sort of the exact opposite of an adoptions associate. These are the folks that are helping the people who are relinquishing or surrendering their pets, or those that have found a lost or stray pet and are bringing it to us. So there's definitely still an element of customer service to this, but usually you're meeting with people that are having a really rough day, having to have made that choice to surrender their pet. Really nervous people who just got that phone call that, we have their pet at the shelter. This is where they would get their pet back. So definitely customer service component to it, but definitely working in a more comforting and counseling type of way to help these people remain calm and understand that what is happening with their animal is really the best thing for that. So it's exactly the same qualifications, get through high school or get that GED, customer service experience, and then computer skills and animal welfare knowledge, which if you don't have a ton going into it, you learn a lot on the job. The longer you're there, the more you get to know about everything and get more comfortable with it too. In addition to our intake associates that are working that front desk in our admissions lobby, we also have our evaluations intake associate. And so these folks might be working with the people that are coming in, but they're also very much going to be working with the animals that are coming in. So these are kind of one of the first stops for the animals as they enter the shelter. They're going to be checking to see if the animals are ready to go straight into our adoption area and go home to a new family. Do they need some time to overcome some fear or some aggression? Do they have medical needs that we need to address? They're going to look at the overall and see what's going on. They're also going to be checking the animals' bodies to make sure that they're healthy. They're going to be updating their vaccinations and doing all of that. So working with animals that are really afraid and your ability to help comfort those animals and get them into the shelter safely, that's what a big piece of this position is going to be. And again, the qualifications for this are exactly the same as the ones that we've discussed so far. Then we move on to an animal care technician. So if you really love working with animals, but working with people is not necessarily your forte, if you're not super outgoing, if you're a little bit more introverted, this could be a really great position for you. The vast majority of the job for this is doing the day in and day out work to take direct care of the animals. So you don't have to have so much with the customer service experience, but you are going to be working with the animals. So you're going to be cleaning their kennels, you're going to be feeding them, you're going to potentially be exercising and taking them for walks. You're really there to make sure that their stay at the shelter is as clean, comfortable, and healthy as it possibly can be. You do have to have some good communication skills because you are still communicating with the other animal care members in that department and making sure everybody knows what needs to be done. But for the most part, you get to work with the animals and that gets to be your main focus. So in order to get this position, again, that high school diploma or GED, we do add on for here is that you have to be able to lift at least 75 pounds. And that's because we do have heavy bags of food, different canned food, litter, all sorts of stuff that we need to make sure that you're doing with this. This is definitely more physical labor going into your day-to-day job. Then we move over to an animal behavior technician. So if any of you ever have a pet, have a dog specifically, and you've taken your dog to obedience school, those are animal behavior technicians in a certain capacity. What we're doing over at the shelter is a little bit different than that though. So we're working with the animals that have a lot of fear or have some aggression and have some socialization issues. And our behavior technicians are there to work with those animals to help them overcome those blocks that they have, either fearful or aggressive or under socialized. They're there to help them pass through that and so that they are more adoptable, more friendly, more calm, better adoption candidates so that we can get them out to that floor. So sometimes these animals that are in our program for behavior, they do stay with us a little bit longer, but it's because our behavior technicians are working to help make sure that they're in the best position possible to get adopted. In addition to this position, working with animals directly every day, we do have a behavior hotline and helpline that we have available for members of the community that our behavior technicians will do those phone calls and those consultations with. So there is an element of customer service with this one that's needed. We think that it's a really important and critical part to what we're doing. If a family has a pet and that pet's behavior is just all over the place and they're at their wits' end, there's a high likelihood they might make a decision to surrender that pet to the shelter. And so if we can provide some assistance and help to them before they make that choice, hopefully those things can be corrected and they can keep that pet and it can stay in a home to begin with. In addition to that, we also will have our behavior technicians meet with any of the people coming in to adopt animals who have been going through the behavior programs. We like to make sure that the patrons know, here's what we've been doing, here's the progress we made, and here are our suggestions as you take this pet home and it becomes part of your family. So there is, like I said, that customer service component to everything and that people component, but there is a lot of work with the animals directly. So the qualifications for this one are pretty similar to everything else. Getting through high school, some physical labor and physical ability, computer skills, customer service skills, and all of that. And you can see we have a couple of pictures on here, excuse me, of different animals that are going through some different training and behavior things and that we're working with them there. Okay, so now we're moving on to our veterinary technician. So our vet techs at the shelter are very similar to nurses for a doctor. So they have medical training and ability to help with doing everything. It's just not quite as much schooling that you would have to go through if you wanted to become a veterinarian or a full-fledged doctor. But you're assisting the veterinarians with all aspects of that animal's healthcare. In order to get in as a veterinary technician, we do ask that you have at least a bachelor's degree, either in biology or zoology, or there are certain schools and programs that you can go into that are directly focused on becoming a vet tech, and that you can also go through that. We ask for at least 1 year of experience. Part of the reason for that is the volume of animals that you would be working with day in and day out here at the shelter looks very different than the number of animals that if you were to go work in a veterinarian's office, their pace is much slower than ours. Ours is go, go, go all the time. And so we want you to at least have your feet wet a little bit when you get into it and understand what the reality of this type of position is. You do need to have computer and customer service skills to an extent. General knowledge of medical procedures is really important for this one, as well as an ability to be okay with blood and guts and poop and pee and all of that, because it is part of it. And excellent communication skills, because you're going to be talking with the other vet techs, the vet assistants, and the veterinarians regularly, and you need to make sure that you can communicate very effectively with them. So vet techs are responsible for providing the medication that any of the animals need, doing the actual physical checks on the animals, helping out during surgeries. They kind of do it all. They're like a veterinarian's right hand. Okay, so then we get to our actual veterinarians. So these are full-fledged medical doctors that have gone through all of the education and the training necessary in order to do that. These are the folks that are going to be making a diagnosis on what it is that's wrong with the animal. They're going to be the ones to decide on a course of treatment for any illnesses and injuries. And then they're going to be the ones that are actually performing any operations and being that point person for any treatment that we're going to be doing for the animals that are at the shelter. This is kind of your big qualifications that are needed position for the Dumb Friends League. In order to be one of the veterinarians for us, you do have to go through medical school. So you have to complete your bachelor's degree, go on to get your master's degree. After that, you have to go on to get your doctor of veterinary medicine degree. You have to have a residency, and you do need excellent surgical skills, a nice steady hand, If you're going to be working for the Dumb Friends League, you will need to get a Colorado veterinary license. And if you're going to any other state to practice that, you'll need to get that certification and that license in that state. And then communication skills are key for this position. If you're the one that's responsible for making all the calls on how we're treating animals, you need to make sure that you're doing it in a way that your team that's working with you very effectively and very clearly understands what needs to be done. So some of our veterinarians at work, so they do get all gowned up and perform surgeries, just like you can see here. In this position, just like the vet tech, you have to be okay with blood and guts and all sorts of bodily fluids and all that, and be okay with performing surgeries, knowing that that's going to help the animals that have those medical issues that we need to take care of. Okay, so now we're moving on to our cruelty investigator. So if you really are interested in the law and in criminal justice, but you're not sure that you want to become a lawyer, or maybe you aren't sure if you want to move into the police department or something like that, but you're interested in criminal justice and you also have a strong passion for animals and animal laws, this could be a really amazing position for you. So these are the folks that are going to go out into the community. They're going to look into reports of animal mistreatment, and they're going to make sure that the Colorado animal protection laws are being enforced. We work very regularly with sheriff's office and police departments. So it's kind of a joint effort in making sure that everything is going how it needs to with each investigation. If you're interested in this, you have to get through high school or get that GED. Communication skills are huge for this. Our investigators are not going to a house and busting down the door, taking the animal away from the owners. They're going out to figure out what's going on. They want to try and diffuse any emotion or anger that might be coming up with the people that we're investigating. They're really trying to figure out, let's understand the entire situation. Let's talk it out. Let's make sure that we've got all the information that we need. So you have to be able to communicate well and read people well. Computer skills, because you are going to be doing a lot of reports. Any experience, like I said, with criminal justice system and knowledge of the Colorado laws and a passion for making sure they're being enforced or getting changed to be better effective. And then you will need to have the ability to obtain a Colorado cruelty investigator certification when you get onto that. So some pictures of situations that our investigators have had to go through. You can see in this picture here, there's at least 4 dogs living in this very, very dirty looking house. The dog in the very front looks like a big brown, shaggy looking dog. When our investigators got into here and were able to take the animals out of their home, and those animals did not get returned to this home, we got them into the shelter. We got all of them cleaned up and taken care of. But this one in the front is the one that made the biggest transformation. Once they got cleaned up and taken care of, it turns out that it was a little terrier looking guy like this who was able to get into a good home with a sweet lady and has been living the best life ever since. So the cleanup on that dog couldn't have happened without the help of our groomers. So we do have groomers that are at the shelter. Now, if any of you have pets that you take to the groomer, you are doing it to clean up any mats and trim their nails and do those things. But there's a lot more to it with our pets that we do it as kind of an aesthetic thing as well. The groomers that are over at the shelter are trying to help these animals get past a lot of things that are bad for their health and their hygiene. In addition to that, there are things that we do as we clean them up to help them actually feel better. When they feel better, they're going to be more friendly. When they're more friendly, they're going to be more adoptable. So it's a really huge part to what we're doing to make sure that the animals coming into us are not over matted with lots of dirt in their, their fur and their skin, that their nails aren't totally overgrown. We really want to make sure that we're giving them what we can so that they can feel healthy, and then health to friendliness to being adopted. For this, you do need to get a diploma or GED. There are grooming programs and grooming schools that you can go to get trained on. And then good communication skills and ability to train and lead others as you get more into it. You'll be able to help teach new groomers what they need to do. So some examples of what our groomers have done and worked with. You can see this little fluffy white mop of a dog. This little dog was totally overgrown with its fur, really needed a cleanup, probably lots of mats to go with it. So they shaved him down, got him cleaned up, and he looks like a little dapper gentleman once they were able to do that. Then there's this guy here who was totally overgrown, matted fur. His fur was so matted that he looks like this giant dog. But when they were able to get in there and get him cleaned up, he's not nearly as big of a dog, and his fur came off in one piece. That's all of his fur that came off in one giant mat. And that's not the way that that's supposed to be on a dog. He had to have been in a lot of pain prior to getting that grooming session in. And he ended up looking like this cute little guy right over here. So the work that our groomers are doing, like we said, yeah, the animals are definitely looking a lot better. But the important part to what our groomers are doing is that they're helping the animals feel a lot better. Okay, then we get into humane education. That is me. My role at the Dumb Friends League is to get out into the community, whether it's with organizations or schools, whatever it might be, and to teach the community about various animal welfare issues, to help them understand how we can be better to our pets, how we can interact safely with animals, where there are issues with certain things with animals, and laws and different stuff like that. My role is to not work with the furry animals, but to work with the human animals more often than not. And it's a lot of fun. If you're interested in making really good connections with the community, inspiring young adults and kids to do a little bit more or change some of what they're doing or learn how to teach other people things, this could be a really, really awesome position for you. You do need to get at least a bachelor's degree in some sort of a related field. So that could be communication, it could be education. I got mine in parks and recreation with an emphasis on outdoor ed. So there was still a teaching component to mine. And then the big important piece to this is you have to be okay working with different people of different ages, as well as you have to be okay with public speaking. So you have to be cool getting up in front of a room full of people and teaching what you know and getting a good energy to it, and really enjoying that. And I know that public speaking is not always for everybody. I did not enjoy it when I was a kid, and it took me into college to really get comfortable doing a lot more of it. And now it's what I absolutely love to do. So if you're not there yet, just keep your mind open on it, and you might grow into really loving being able to speak in public. But we're really there just to teach the community about the work that we're doing over at the league. So some pictures of what we do and how we do it. And there are still lots of other options. I didn't even cover everything that we have over at the Dumb Friends League. So in addition to everything we talked about, we also have folks that are fundraising for us. So if you're really good at asking people for money, that could be helpful because that's really huge to helping us be able to do the work that we do. If you're interested in graphic design, that is something that we need all the time. Also could be special events. So we have folks that are putting together different logistics for all of our big events that we've got running every year. We have folks that are working in business related positions. So like in human resources or accounting, different things like that. If you like to fix things and help with different stuff like that, maintenance positions. So our facilities need to be running and running well all the time. Technology. So IT is really important for the work that we're doing. Public relations, if you have any desire to go on the news and be there, that first face of the Dumb Friends League, you could do that. We've got social media accounts and different email folks at that. We've got a volunteer services department. So if you want to help make sure all the volunteers that come to help us out every year are coordinated the way that they need to be, that could be a good position. If you really love horses, you could work down at our equine center. If you want to help out those other shelters, you could work in our transfer center. Like we said, there's so many different options, and it all is there's so many different types of jobs that you could get into based on your personal interests, but also your desire to care about animal welfare and want to be part of an organization that's trying to make a difference in the world for these animals. All these different positions have various different qualifications. In order to actually work at the league, you do have to be at least 18 and require at least a high school diploma or GED. Get that diploma or GED. Computer and customer service skills to some extent are going to be important in any position, as well as that general animal welfare knowledge that I mentioned. So if these are some of the positions that we've got, so we can see our public relations, we've got our IT department down on that bottom picture, and the picture on the upper right, that is our Harmony Equine Center. So it's if I didn't mention it before, so it's on 168 acres of land. It's giant ranch that has all of the facilities that those equines need, as well as the expert staff and volunteers that are there to help them. We have some pictures of our big special events, so the Furry Scurry, and for this year, it's actually coming up on May 7th. So if you have that day available and you want to get signed up to join a team or sign up to walk independently, please do. We would love that support, and it's a really, really fun event and fun day. We've had previous events called the Wagon Trail event, which is another fundraiser for us. And then you can see that bottom picture there. We've got our maintenance facility and facilities team just making sure that we are up to par how we need to be, and that everything's working the way it needs to, that grounds are clear for patrons to come, and all of that. So maybe you don't necessarily want to work for an animal shelter. You have a different idea of what you want to do for a career, but you still want to be involved. There's lots of different things that you can do. So if you see something, say something, speak up. Your voice is absolutely a powerful tool. If you're not sure about particular topics, do some research and figure out things that you really spark a passion for and start to get involved with those in more ways. If you have the ability to donate in-kind items or make items like pet beds and blankets for us, we really greatly appreciate that. As you learn more and do that research and get more involved, educate your friends and your family. The more people can be aware of the work that we do, the better off it is. And then, of course, there are opportunities to volunteer. So I'm actually the coordinator for the youth volunteer programs. At the Dumb Friends League, we do have a number of programs for kids as young as 7 and 8, all the way up through 15. At 16 years old, you are able then to apply as a regular volunteer, and you can work in a variety of different areas within the shelter. I highly recommend doing that. If you think that this could be a career path for you, starting as a volunteer is always a great way to make a name for yourself. And then just some things that you definitely want to keep in mind and consider as you might come to work for us as you get a bit older. So are you willing to work holidays and weekends? The animals do not care if it's a Saturday. They do not care if it's Christmas. They want and need to be cared for every day. So some positions require a schedule that is not a Monday through Friday. Are you okay if that's the type of position you're going to walk into? Are you willing to earn less money than other careers? So we are a nonprofit organization. We need money to operate and we need money to do what we need to do, but we're not trying to get rich off of the work that we're doing. So everybody that works there gets a paycheck. I need it to survive and to live on, but I'm also not getting it to get rich off of the work that I do. And I'm okay with that because I'm passionate about the work. Are you willing to get dirty? So you're working in an animal shelter, even if you're not in the veterinary services department, there's a chance that you're going to come in contact with poop or pee or vomit on any given day. Like I said, I work more with people than with animals, but I did bring a puppy into a program one time and it managed to pee all down the front of me. So nobody's safe from that on a potential, as long as you're willing to get dirty or the potential to get dirty, and keep that in mind that could happen. Are you ready to deal with difficult situations? So it's an emotional place to work. You see a lot of really great stuff. You learn about things that just make your heart break. And you have to be okay coming to terms with that and understanding that the work you're doing is really important. But you also have to know that you might have great days and you might have some not so great days, that your emotions are going to creep up on you. And that is part of it. And it's totally normal for that to be the experience there. And then lastly, and I feel like since I'm speaking to Girl Scouts, you already have this and are developing this, but are you willing to build relationships with not only animals, but with people? So the people in our community play a role in the work that we're doing for the animals in our community. We couldn't do the work that we're doing for the animals without the people. And so making that connection with people in some way, shape, or form, excuse me, is a really, really important thing to keep in mind, that that's part of what you're doing and that people want to support us and want to make sure that they are finding the ways to support us in the best way possible. So keep all those things in mind if you think this is something that you might want to do. And I'm going to put it to this, that now we have plenty of time. We got about 20-25 minutes or so to take some questions that you guys might have. I'm going to pull myself out of the shared screen and we can start with some of those questions. All right. And I will just start. Let's see. So I see some questions here in the chat. And so Jamie asked, do we have horse trainers? We do. So we have positions volunteering at the equine center. Most of the volunteer positions are simply mucking stalls and doing that. And to volunteer at the equine center, you do have to be at least 16. But we do have horse trainers as part of the career path, and there are jobs to do that. In order to volunteer, it's not totally free. So the youth volunteer programs do have a cost associated with them. And that's simply to help us cover the cost that it takes us to put those programs on. Also to keep in mind, so all of the money that we get are coming from donations and program fees and adoption fees. If we were to offer volunteer programs for free at the youth thing, that would be taking money away from the direct care of the animals. So we charge that fee in order to offset some of the costs that we have to put into caring for the animals, but also wanting to run those programs. If you're 16 or older, there is a one-time $25 application fee that you would have to fill out as well. So keeping that in mind. Okay.
Lauren, I have a question. It's Katie.
Yes.
About CSU and what's
Okay.
happening at the name just failed me. Up in
At
Denver.
Spur.
Yes.
Yep.
The Spur. Yes.
Yeah, so we are part of that collaboration with CSU Spur. So CSU is in the process of creating a campus right off of I-70, right by the National Western Complex. There are a few different buildings, and so that they all focus on a different area. So one is an agriculture building, one is a water building, and then one is a, they call it the VITA building, but it's basically animal health. And so that building is already open, and we are partnered with CSU at that building. It is a educational vet hospital. So they have different viewing windows that you can actually see surgeries taking place. They have horse therapy, so both therapy for horses and then therapy with horses for folks who need that therapy. And then we are heading out there, myself and my educational team, as they're getting busier and busier, we're going out there for different field trips that they're running, and we're teaching different programs about animal welfare. They've got a lot of really cool different exhibits. They have a virtual reality room. They've got like a practice vet complex thing to it. It's a really neat facility. I believe it's open 7 days a week at this point. And so if anybody is in that area, absolutely go look into it and go check it out. And if you guys are interested in booking any sort of a field trip with your troops or anything like that, you can go through CSU's website to get that set up, and we can certainly be a part on that.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I just heard about that the other day, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
happening.
neat. Yeah, we're really excited about it, and we're excited about it being more a part of our regular programs. It's just obviously it only opened in January, so they're still starting to build everything and do that. But yeah, I highly recommend if anybody's interested, it's the CSU Spur campus.
Okay.
So I have other questions that I'm trying to read through on the chat. So and talking salaries, right? So money and getting paid. So it varies for every position. Some positions are what we call salaried. So they get a certain amount of money every year. The typical work week is 40 hours a week, but sometimes they work a little more or a little bit less, but that doesn't matter and doesn't affect their paycheck. And then a lot of us work on an hourly pay range, and that's where we get paid by the number of hours that we work. Some people are scheduled at 20 hours a week, some people are at 30 hours a week, and then you have your full-time people that are working 40 hours a week. There are benefits in addition to the pay, but the pay range varies from $16 or $17 an hour to start all the way up into the mid 20s, possibly even higher. I unfortunately don't know everybody's salary range, but we are trying to make sure that we're paying folks a fair wage in addition to the medical and health benefits and retirement stuff that go into that if you're at least on 30 hours a week. Okay. Do we have any cows? So we do not take in and care for cows. The equine center ranch that we have down in Franktown, that is exclusively for horses and horse-like animals. So horses, ponies, mules, donkeys, the miniature version of any of those. It's not a farm animal sanctuary in any capacity or ranch animal sanctuary. There are farm animal sanctuaries that if we were to get other farm animals, we could definitely pass them along. I know we've gotten pot-bellied pigs. I know we've gotten ducks and chickens and different things. And we'll work with other organizations to get those animals into a good place when they show up. That's a good question. Okay. Do we have any young cattle dogs that would be good to hang outside at a ranch all day? I'm not sure how young the cattle dog is, but I know we have at least 1 or 2 of them up for adoption at the Malone Center in Denver. I just saw them at the shelter today. Also, any and all of our animals that are up for adoption, you guys can see them on our website. So if you go to ddfl.org, that's our website, and you can just go to the adoptions page and you'll be able to see who's up for adoption if you're looking for an animal. So do we do a therapy dog program? That's a great question. So we do not have a therapy dog program at the shelter. But if we get a dog in that shows really good potential to be a therapy dog, we will contact the organizations that do training for that, and we'll connect with them about getting that dog adopted out in a way that they can work with that. We've also adopted dogs out when they had good potential for I remember one specifically, it was a search and rescue dog. It was going to go out to search and rescue so that, it showed all the right personality traits and things that it needed. And so we're able to adopt out to places that can train dogs with specific jobs that they would be doing. Okay. All right. Am I all caught up on the questions in the chat? Looks like I'm all caught up on there. Are there other questions that you guys have for me? What can I answer for you?
Well, this has been fantastic. It's so great to hear just about all the different roles because, as you were mentioning, some people are more introverted and they don't want to work with human beings. Some people want to work more with the human beings. And, we've got a whole variety of positions there, but you're always around the animals and, you're doing a very good job in what you're doing in life. Even if you might be doing finance there, you're working for a good organization.
Yeah,
so
exactly. And that's the thing that I don't think most people realize is it takes all of these other administrative and supportive roles to run the organization that is focused on animals. So even if you're really good with numbers and you want to become an accountant, cool, do that. Absolutely. But then consider working for a nonprofit, maybe us, where you can apply that skill and knowledge and what you have that you want to do for a living, but you also get to do it for a good cause. So there's so many supporting roles and administrative things that you can do in addition to the direct work with the animals.
Right. It looks like Caitlin has a question. Oh, do you have a pet of your own?
Do you have a pet of your own when working at the animal shelter? That's a really great question. Yes, I do. I have a dog and a cat. And my dog I adopted from the Dumb Friends League about 2 years ago. And he actually is now one of our, what we call ambassadogs. So there are a collection of dogs and one cat that we have as ambassador pets. So they are all animals that came from a rescue, and they all belong to either staff members or volunteers. And these animals have shown that they've got really, really great temperaments and really great behavior to be around groups of people, mostly kids. And we can take them to the programs that we go to when we go to schools or go to organizations. And we use these animals to show people how cool shelter pets are, how to stay safe when you're meeting these new animals for the first time. And my dog, who I got from the Dumb Friends League, he is one of our ambassador dogs. So he gets to come with me to the programs that I get to do and gets to meet everybody and do all that. So
that's awesome.
Good question. What breed? What's his name? So he is a breed of dog called an Akbosh, which most people have never heard of. I didn't even know it existed. We thought he was a Pyrenees and Labrador mix. So if you can picture that, that's what an Akbosh looks like. And his name is Scout. He is almost 2.5 years old and he weighs about 120 pounds. So he's a big, fluffy, polar bear looking dog, but he's the sweetest, most gentlest thing in the world. And then I also have a cat who I rescued, but I rescued him from a place back in Illinois where I'm originally from. His name is Jack, and he would make a horrible ambassador cat.
So not all pets are made out to be ambassador pets. We all know.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
we
some of us
learn.
have that kind of pet at home.
Yeah. Cool. So I've got another question here from Sharon. So 50 to 60 animals come in during the day. What happens if we don't have space? And do we have animals share kennels? Yeah. So we are lucky. We just went through a huge multi-year renovation of the shelter. If we had to, I believe we can house upwards of 2,000 animals at the shelter. We've never gotten, and this is at just the Malone Center in Denver. We've never had that many come through. We had previous number of animals that we could house. It was somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500. I believe we're up to 2,000 that we have the ability to house. If we were to get full with our kennels, we're also really lucky. We've got somewhere around 500 foster families that help us out. So if we're really full on space, we utilize the foster families and reach out to them to say, hey, can you guys foster some animals for the time until our numbers drop lower? Sometimes we do have animals share kennels. So sometimes the animals come to us with a shared history, and we call those a bonded pair. So we'll keep them together in that kennel, and they will have to be adopted out together. And sometimes we just have animals that don't want to be alone. So often we find the smaller dogs, they don't like to be by themselves in the kennels. And so we can house 2 or 3, sometimes 4 of those smaller dogs together. Sometimes the bigger ones would like a pal too while they're in there. So we just try and pay attention to the behaviors and how it really looks for the animal. And then we adjust their living arrangements as needed. But we're really lucky, knock on wood, we've never filled up and gotten to a point that we had to find a different solution. If we did, we can always look to other shelters to try and take some of those off of our hands as well.
Right.
So good question on here. Let's see. So my dog's breed, because somebody asked if I could mention that again, it's called an Akbash. It's spelled Akbash. And if you just type it into Google, you'll see pictures of it. And that's exactly what my dog Scout looks like. He's like the poster child for the breed. So then let me see here. Have we ever had anyone foster horses before? That's an awesome question, Jamie. I do not know the answer to that. I've never had anybody ask that question. I believe that we've never had to utilize foster families for horses before because of the space of that facility. But I'm going to have to reach out to them and ask if they've ever done that before, because that is something I do not know the answer to. So it's a really good question to ask, though.
So it looks like someone unmuted and had a question. Go ahead.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have any suggestions for either a volunteer position or a job for just to gain experience before getting out of high school.
Yeah, absolutely. So volunteering is the way to go for this. What's neat about our volunteer program is that we can take volunteers in every department. So all the ones that I talked about, and then all the ones that I didn't, we can always use volunteers. So what you would want to do if you were interested in that, like I said, if you're under 16, we've got youth volunteer programs that are kind of educational in nature, but help you get a feel for what volunteering looks like. Once you hit 16, you can fill out the application to be a volunteer. And the process then is that they will have you go to an orientation. So you learn more about the league, basically what I taught, but in more depth and give you more information on things. And then they're going to have an interview with you to see what area it is that you would feel most comfortable working in. Where do we have a need for it? All of that. And then from there, you'll go through your training, and then you would get into a regular, typically they ask for a weekly shift for at least 6 months. But the nice thing is that you can also, once you've committed to that 6 months, you can switch into different areas, get more experience in those ways. But volunteering is going to be your best bet. And all the steps for volunteering are going to be found online to get yourself started with that. So just go to the Dumb Friends League website there.
Yeah.
So yes, the breed is called an Akbash, Akbash. And Corabelle asked if we have reptiles. So we do get reptiles in sometimes, but we pass them along to a reptile rescue, or sometimes staff members or volunteers will just adopt them and take them home. We don't actually adopt them out to patrons very regularly. So what Sharon wants to know, what types of things can you volunteer for? Again, it depends on your age. So the youth volunteer programs, they're set programs, ranging from reading to some of the animals to creating paintings for animals that adopters will take home with them, to other service projects that'll keep the animals enriched or help them get adopted quicker. And then as you get a little bit older, we actually have the volunteer programs that you will come in and learn about kennel cleaning or about working with the dogs or the cats, the small mammals, or dog walking or anything like that. And those are the programs that'll help you get prepared for when you want to become a regular volunteer at 16. Most people, when they volunteer, they want to work directly with the animals. And so the programs are designed to sort of help give you an idea of what that's really going to look like. So I hope that kind of answers that for you. Corabelle, I love bearded dragons. They're awesome. We had one at the shelter not too long ago.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Well, thank you, Lauren. This has been really fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, if you realize you have questions that I didn't answer, I'm going to type into here just a basic email address that you can send. And I'm the one that typically responds to these emails. So if you realize there's stuff that you'd like more information on or anything that I can help you out with, feel free to send me an email over there and I will be more than happy to do whatever I can to get some answers to you or help you get set up with anything.
Yeah, that's great. Because I know, I'm sure we've got some Girl Scouts too on the call that are doing their, thinking about their Gold Award, which is the highest award a Girl Scout can do. And, you know, how they can be involved with possibly helping out with something that you might need. So you can put your thinking cap on in case the Girl Scout approaches you and you say, actually, we would love help with this.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had a few different, I feel like silver badge, different sort of things that we've done before. We also work with Boy Scouts that are doing their Eagle Scout projects and all that. And recently we started collaborating a little bit more with our enrichment coordinator at the shelter. And she's got some really awesome projects that she usually has ready to go for some of the scouts. So if any of you are there and you're looking for something to do, connect with me and we'll see if we can get you set up to get that project completed.
Great. Awesome. You might be getting some emails.
That's okay. I wouldn't put it out there if I wasn't all right with it.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Well, girls, if you'd like to, you know, go off mute and thank Lauren and everything that she's provided the information for us. It's been absolutely wonderful. So,
absolutely. Girls, thanks so much you bet. Thanks so much for being a great audience.
Thank you.
Hope to hear from you guys soon in one capacity or another.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Katie. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too. Thanks again. Have a good night, everybody.
Hi.